Good morning. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Rapid Fire Friday. I appreciate you being here, and I do appreciate those catching the replay as I come on every week, roughly 11 o'clock, running a little late this morning. We just sent out our last call for December orders and virtual decorating experiences, and I've just gotten a flurry of emails today. So, wrapping it up hopefully by Thanksgiving week so that we know what is coming ahead for the holiday season. So, as I always say, it's quality, not quantity. So, we are closing it up pretty soon. Anyway, so I'm here to share with you some Q&A in rapid fire format. And I'm going to actually answer one question that I saw in the feed, so not too long ago. So thank you, Sue, for posing this question or wonderment about her edible sugar paper experience. So I'm going to answer that question to the best of my experience and knowledge. And then I do have another topic that we're going to talk about because 'tis the season. Those marketing companies are out there and they are not messing around. I have gotten, no lie, probably eight or nine very detailed requests or inquiries for my company to join their collaborative effort to build my business. So I want to talk a little bit about that and a little bit of some caution to those requests that are coming in and how they can be very enticing, but you need to be very careful about committing or accepting those offers. Okay. So let me start off with the first one. So, Sue, thank you again. She was looking for some help, and a few folks did chime in. So, now to duplicate effort here, but she was working on a logo cookie order and she needed some more prints at the last minute. So she opened up a new package of icing sheets, printed, dried them for about 20 minutes in front of a fan, and then adhered them to the cookie with glaze, as she always does, dried overnight. And in the morning, there was some slight bleed of blue on one side. So she said that this did not happen to the other cookies. And in her communication with Icing Images, where she had purchased the sheets, they said possibly the sheets were a bit tacky. So I know she took an effort to dry them in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes to kind of dry them out before printing and then adhering them to the cookie. So first of all, this can be extremely frustrating. So when you make these beautiful image logo cookies and then you take the time to print them, cut them, lay them down, let them dry, package them, and then they bleed. So if you're not familiar with what bleeding is, basically it is discoloration on your design. So one color is bleeding into the other. And, sometimes it can look great, and other times it looks like it really did bleed, and it's not really the intention. So sometimes you can get away with it. It's kind of a cool effect, but most often it is frustrating, especially for those company brands where they're very particular about their brand and their logos. Okay, so a couple things might be happening here. So there's basically five things that I think could potentially be the problem. So first of all, those icing sheets, if they did have any amount of moisture, even putting them in the fan or under a fan or putting them in the oven to dry out, that may not have been enough. So they might have still had some moisture because any amount of moisture on those icing sheets will bleed that edible ink. Another thing is the humidity in your workspace. So we are now, depending on where you live, we are now kind of in a transition. I'm broadcasting from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the weather is just a little up and down. And so we are opening windows, we are turning on fans, we are increasing the air conditioner, we've got a humidifier. So we are working as best as we can to maintain that temperature in our bakery so that when we do our edible sugar paper logos, that we can make sure that there's a good temperature, not only for working with, but also the drying process. So I know here with my team, we are very careful about before turning on those ovens, any order that we had worked on the previous day or evening is packaged and physically removed from that space so that when we crank up those ovens, that humidity that really does get trapped in our small space is not going to bring moisture into those cookies. And then also keep in mind another one issue is that glaze. Now, she said she's using glaze. I know some people will make their own glaze, some people will purchase glaze, some people will use kind of a clear gel. Some people even use royal icing. I've not had good luck with royal icing as the glue, if you will, but that icing, I would take a look at that and see. I'd be curious to know, was it the same batch from what you had used before? Did you create new glaze for those few cookies that you needed? Because perhaps that glaze was too thin. And as we know, glaze is made from powdered sugar, water, sometimes a little milk, and some vanilla if you're flavoring it. So there's lots and lots of moisture in that glaze. So that formulation of your glaze could also be the culprit. I know when we're adhering edible sugar paper, we put a very, very, very thin, just enough for that image to stick. So you almost want to take as much off as you can. And then finally, it could be well, two more things. The drying time and method for drying. We talked a little bit about that, but it could be even though you're putting it under a fan, even though you are putting it in the oven, it just could be that there's still too much moisture. Maybe it needed a little bit more drying time. So, and then finally, it's the quality of the icing sheets. Maybe it was a bad batch. I don't know. I know Icing Images is a very reputable company, and their products are high end and they're very, very good. So, but things happen. So that could be, or perhaps it's also the ink. It could be a bad batch of ink. So you never know. So, but what can you do really quickly? I didn't think this is going to be this long, but what can you do to, prevent, pre-dry those icing sheets if need be? I haven't had that issue. Our icing sheets, come sealed in a foil. We're running through it pretty quickly, so we don't have those really icing sheets sitting around. But I'm thinking, they last a long, 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 long time. But I think the more they sit, the more they're going to dry out. And just be careful, putting it in the oven. What you don't want to do is take it too far where then your icing sheets are going to crack because when they dry, they really dry and then they get very brittle. So you want to be careful of that. Again, make sure those icing prints are, fully dried. So let's say you did work on it the night before. And I know that sometimes we're night owls. So even though you're thinking, well, it was the night before, I waited till the next day. But if you're decorating at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then you are packaging in the morning, that's not really a full 12 hours. So overnight. So I would give it a good 12 to, 16 hours of drying time before putting those edible icing sheet cookies in a bag. And then again, check that glaze. Make sure a little thicker is better than thin. So, glaze comes in all different consistencies. So if you're making glaze for those Cinnabons or a baked, you want it to be nice and gooey and where you can drizzle it. But really, when you're adhering edible sheets to the cookies, actually thicker is better because it becomes a little bit more sticky. And then again, you won't have that drying problem. And then, test out your humidity. Just make sure it's nice and cool. And then finally, even test out maybe the sheets, test them out before you do a larger order just to make sure that you do have a good batch of icing sheets. So okay, so that is the first question. The other topic that I just wanted to talk a little bit about today, because I have literally gotten inundated with offers from a variety of companies, maybe a startup, maybe it's a company that's been around. I'm not going to necessarily name any of them because I don't want to call any of them out. I really just want to talk about the topic of if you are approached by a marketing company that is offering to collaborate with you to increase your business, increase sales, get more traffic to your website or get more orders or whatever it may be. It can be very, very enticing. But again, a little caution to the wind here. You want to make sure that you, number one, are doing due diligence to make sure that it's not a scam. And it's sad, but there are many, many scams out there. We are in the age of AI, so you have no idea if there's even a human behind that offer. So be very, very careful. And so a couple talking points I just want to talk about. I'm not going to go too deep because it's too much, but I probably will add this to the website. But So if a marketing company, promotional company reaches out to you, number one, make sure that, whatever it is they're offering adheres to your marketing goals. So, what is the purpose of you collaborating with them? So, don't be too quick to say yes because it may not have anything to do with your goals in mind for your business. So, is it brand awareness? Is it to generate leads? Is it to boost sales? What is their offer? But again, what are your goals and do they align? Um, and the other thing is that, making sure that, and I just had this happen because one of the companies that reached out to me was a site that offers really deep discounts, big sales for a limited period of time with a limited number of exclusive offers. And that's just not my target audience. So that was an easy no, without even doing any research, without even taking my time. But that's just not something that we do. Discounts, deep discounts, sales are really not part of our business model. So that was an easy no. So make sure that, again, who is your target audience and does that offer align with that? If not, why would you want to even go there? Okay. Very important, as I mentioned earlier, about just doing due diligence on researching the company. If you've never heard of them, or even if you have heard of them, some of those bigger brands, those leading brands, may not always have the reputation that you want your business being associated with. So again, look at their track record, look at their reputation, look at the testimonials if you can. Ask for references, ask for case studies if need be. So especially if they're offering you a guarantee, like we guarantee you to increase your sales by 50% in a month, like some of that is just too good to be true. So again, do your research. Um, and the other thing is, how are they going to measure all of that too? So, and it's interesting because sometimes when you ask some of these questions, these folks will run away. So if they run away and they're not going to take the time to answer these questions, that is a red flag right there. Okay. I had, just a side note, I had a meeting. I was kind of intrigued by it. And so I scheduled a call to talk to this fella about this site, and very reputable. I'd heard of the company before. I was kind of actually excited because you guys all know that I love working with experiential companies. And I was really disappointed because what was presented was not really the reality. And the other thing is that there's been zero follow up, not one phone call, not one email. We kind of decided some action steps from our conversation, and not one ounce of follow up has taken place. And so that right there is a red flag to me, that I all of a sudden feel like, oh, like they reached out, they wanted to schedule a meeting with me. And it was a really nice personal conversation. And, but there's been crickets since. So now I'm feeling like, well, that was just, they're reaching everybody and anybody. They're going to say everything and anything to get you to, take action. But then there was no contact since. And so not for me. And again, I did not sign anything. I did not commit to anything. But again, it was just really fascinating to me. So, where I'm going is also, what are their metrics? Are they going to offer you any amount of support? Are they going to check in with you at any point? Is super, super important. So these are just a couple things that you definitely want to consider. Here's the other thing is, if it is too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So if they're telling you that it's free, or that it's, only $1 to join, or it's just, if it's too good to be true, it is. And so, be careful, look at the contracts, any kind of agreement before you sign or commit to something, because a lot of times there are hidden fees. Okay. So to be very aware of that. And then any like vague contracts too, I would be a little suspicious of them. And then let's see, a couple things just to kind of wrap this up because I don't want to go too deep here is, I kind of talked about communication, are they following up? Do you have a connection? Who's going to be their support? Will you have a contact, or is it just kind of like, here's what we have, you commit to it, and then they're gone? There's no contact. So be very careful of that. So anyway, so take your time, be very thorough, evaluate, trust your instincts. So if your gut is telling you, nope, something's not right about this, there's probably something wrong. So, and don't rush. And here's the thing, because I know for me and my business model and my team, and we are looking ahead. So any offer that comes in for, let's say, the holiday season or in quarter four, I am not going to even consider for this quarter. But if it is something that I think might benefit, might be a win-win, I will consider it for next year, next first, second, third, fourth quarter. But I am not going to change my trajectory on my previously set strategy for the year. I'm not going to have a knee jerk reaction to something that sounds really good. And, I don't want to go into it too quickly. So I do take time to think about, okay, how's this going to work? Because I've said it before, but when you say yes to one thing, you're going to start to say no to something else. So, for whatever it's worth, just want to put that public service announcement out there for you, because it's very interesting, and you have to be very careful. So, um, all right, so that's going to wrap it up for another Rapid Fire Friday. If you want to go deeper on either one of these topics, feel free to put a post or reach out to me. You can DM me or please visit AnnetteConrad.com, where you can pick up some free resources. And you can always reach out on my contact page if you would like to connect. So thanks so much, everybody. I hope your holiday baking is going well. I know that we are on track. We definitely went with quality, not quantity this year. I'm happy to say that we have not yet worked a weekend yet, although I think we're going to work for a few hours on Sunday, but it really has been wonderful, reining in it a little bit better every year and working smarter, not harder, and, just enjoying the holiday season. So, all right. We will talk to you all real soon, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.